As the cliche goes, April showers bring May flowers. But usually what comes after is the heat and dryness of summer. Hello again, SA here. And before the hot weather of the holiday shows up, you should indulge in my new short story, The White Cat, a free exclusive on Substack. The links are down below in description. Join Margot Thompson, a beautiful stage actress and recent widow who finds salvation in the form of a white cat during a night of terror. While checking out my oddball thriller, remember that my Glitch series is still available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The links are down below in the description. While you'll find my peculiar story about a white pussy entertaining, that doesn't mean I'm out of ideas. I still have more stories coming down the pike, so as long as I don't run into any mishaps, you'll see those stories as well. Now let's get back to the video. Hello again. SA here. Voting and elections have been around since human civilization. Indeed, anyone who's read a good history book knows that the ancient Greeks, primarily the Athenians and even the Spartans, had elections. Indeed, anyone who remembers what happened to Socrates probably doesn't realize that Socrates, well, he met his end because a bunch of people in Athens had a vote and decided, yeah, let's get rid of this guy. So there you go. But while humans have always had voting, sometimes the votes weren't, how can I say it, peaceable? No. Because the Romans, before they became an empire, might add, they used to have elections all the time, back when they had a functioning quasi-democracy. And I'm using that term quite loosely. Indeed, the Romans, they usually had all kinds of mayhem going on, with gangs and backbiting and people contesting the vote, usually with fisticuffs or worse. But of course, historically, votes have never been peaceable affairs. Indeed, for example, we had an election here in America back in the 1870s that almost restarted the Civil War. Because, if I remember correctly, in 1876, the damn vote basically split. And in the end, the Electoral College, because it was still a thing, it split. And what happened was that, according to the history books, the leaders of both the DNC and the RNC got into a smoke-filled room, and they decided who president was going to be. And believe me, that wasn't kosher. Nope. According to the Constitution, when you have like a split vote, Electoral College, it's supposed to be settled in the House of Representatives, not in a smoke-filled room. But regardless, in the end, the presidency went to Rutherford B. Hayes, Republican. And of course, as we all now know, as part of making that deal, the Republican Congress had to basically rescind the Reconstruction in the South, which was a Democratic stronghold. Talk about wheeling and dealing. But of course, while that one ended without bloodshed, other elections didn't turn out so well. Indeed, back in Algeria, for example, they had an election that apparently was going to go for the go against the ruling party. In fact, if I'm correct, I think it was supposed to have been the first open election ever, since the Algerian got its independence from the French. But then the thing kind of went sideways because, according to the history books, when it looked like the opposition was actually going to win the election, the military canceled the runoff election and basically declared a military coup, which resulted in the Algerian Civil War. It lasted almost like a full decade. So there you go. And there's, of course, other examples of bad elections. Like, for example, the Philippine election in 1986, that was a total garbage pile fire. When Ferdinand Marcos basically tried to cheat and got caught, and the people were so enraged that it basically led to a revolt against him and his rule, and he was run out of the country. And Corazon Aquino ended up becoming president by default. And then they had a similar incident happen in India, in Kashmir, that disputed area up there between India and Pakistan, where they had an election, but the election was rigged by something called the Kashmiri National Conference. Yeah. And man, people were upset about that too. And then, of course, they had that election that happened in Burma, aka Myanmar, where the Suu Kyi, you know that woman? Yeah, it looked like she was going to become the leader of the country. And then, just like in Algeria, the military said, "Oh, no, you don't." And the junta basically said, "Get the hell out of here. We acknowledge you as a new leader." And they put her on her house arrest. Yeah. So there you go. And then, of course, naturally, we had the cock up in our country during the 2020 election. Now, of course, according to the Democrats, they said, "Oh, the election was above board. It was the best election ever, and we got the result that we wanted." Yeah. So, of course, they thought the election of 2020 was just fine because their side won. But of course, as anyone remembers, that stupid article written by, I think it was Newsweek or was it Time Magazine, about the shadow campaign? Yeah. Now, if the stupid leftists and liberals and the news media had kept their mouths shut about the Zuckerbucks and how he basically bankrolled that ballot harvesting campaign, the people in the RNC would be clueless to this day about exactly how it was that Trump, who for the most part was popular, could have lost that election to old Sleepy Joe, who was hiding in the damn basement of his damn house out there in, was it Wilmington, Maryland? Yeah. Yeah, if they kept their mouths shut, nobody would have known what they did. I mean, it's like Nelson from The Simpsons. He does something stupid and he goes, "Ha ha." Yeah, one of those numbers. And I'm thinking perhaps the DNC and their leftist and liberal allies shouldn't have gloated. Okay, let's not even pretend. That stupid article was basically the equivalent of gloating. They basically got away with something and they said, "Ha ha." Yeah, don't do that. Yeah. But anyway, apparently more than a few people after that article said, "Okay, we're not going to let that happen again. And we, on the RNC side, are going to try to do our own ballot harvesting. But unlike the DNC, we're going to do ours above board." Now, will it work? I don't know. But a funny thing is going on right now in this election. And of course, some of you saying, "Oh, you mean all that lawfare. Yeah. Well, yeah, that, but something else funny is going on. Indeed, not too long ago, there was a video with Biden's wife, Jill. And no, I'm not going to call her Dr. Jill because she's not a real doctor, okay? I mean, don't go to her looking for some Vicodin because she can't write a prescription because she's not a real doctor, okay? We clear now? Right. Let's move on. But anyway, she was on this damn TV program, I think it was CNN, and the damn people were trying to tell her that her husband's numbers were crap in the swing states. And she was sitting there insisting, oh, no. My husband's doing very well in those states, and we're going to win those states. And then, of course, you say, oh, man, she's just as delusional as her husband. Maybe she's just sitting over in a rocking chair and suck on an ice cream cone. Well, anyway, old Tim Pool, I think he may have found the chink in their armor. Because even he said that what happened in 2020 can't be pulled twice. Now, I'm going to show you a part of a video he did. And he's talking about how the Social Security Department, the federal government, has been noticing something weird going on. Apparently, it has to do about how they changed the law, I think it was under George W.'s time, where if people want registered to vote, they have to check, for new voters, not for previous people already on the voter rolls. Anyone who's registering new, they have to check to see if they register with a Social Security number, if it matches with the Social Security service. And let's just say they've been finding some funny things going on. Okay, now I'll show you the video, all right? Okay, here we go.
Millions of people are registering without IDs in key states. But more importantly, tens of thousands of people who are dead are trying to register. I didn't believe it at first. We talked about it last night on Timcast IRL. This viral tweet going around from End Wokeness saying the number of voters registering without a photo ID is skyrocketing in 3 key swing states, Arizona, Texas, and Pennsylvania. Since the start of 2024, Texas, 1.2 million, PA, about 600,000, Arizona, 220,000. It's this system they call HAVV. You don't need an ID to register to vote. You can use your name, date of birth, and social security number. When you do this, the Social Security Administration runs a verification on new submissions to see if this person actually exists. What most people have been sharing on Twitter / on X is this. Why are so many people in these states trying to register to vote without IDs? Why are they literally registering to vote without IDs? Who are these people? Well, of course, the media is going to dismiss this and say, not everybody uses an ID. And you know what? Fair point. Maybe you went to register and they said you can register with your ID or social. I got to be honest. I'm going to use the last 4 of my social. It's easy. Pulling out my ID, too much work. So if I'm allowed to, I'm personally registering, I just use my social. And that will appear as a verification. That is fair and that is true. But in the course of going through the website, we discovered that in 1 week in Missouri, 23,000 dead people tried to register. Now, that doesn't make sense, does it? Many are arguing that it's illegal immigrants, that they're registering them. Well, that doesn't make sense because illegal immigrants aren't going to be in the Social Security database. Some argue, well, it's because they get work permits, so they're granted a Social Security number. Perhaps. But the number of deceased people trying to register is alarming any way you cut it. Shadow campaign. Now, I don't know what this means. I'm going to stress that. For all I know, that there is some logical explanation. We've done a little bit of digging. We have not gotten comments from these various states to ask them why this is happening. But I will tell you this, my friends. Whatever you think happened in 2020, if you think there is no shadow campaign in this, and I always got to pull this up because people won't believe me. People don't believe it. I got to pull it up. If you think there is no shadow campaign, I got a bridge to tell you. Time Magazine, 2020, The Secret History of the Shadow Campaign That Saved the 2020 Election. Time Magazine actually wrote that a conspiracy Look at this. There was a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes, one that both curtailed the protests and coordinated the resistance from CEOs. Both surprises were the result of an informal alliance between left-wing activists and business titans. Time magazine published an article saying that they fortified the election with a secret shadow campaign that Time magazine refers to as a conspiracy. So let me just stress this one more time. Time magazine wrote an article that there was a conspiracy among left-wing groups to make sure Trump would lose. I wonder what that means. They say they had voter initiatives and things like that. Well, currently right now in Wisconsin, they are banning Zuckerbucks. They want to prevent shadow campaigns like this from happening. I would assume that those that engaged in this shadow campaign know they can't do the same thing twice, and now they must try something different. I get a lot of people and they say, Tim, don't you now understand the fraud that's going on? Listen, I think it was largely ballot harvesting in 2020. The evidence, James O'Keefe. He has video footage of people ballot harvesting, bragging about getting these ballots. You wonder why it is. Many of these ballots were for Joe Biden, but Republicans, but there were no down ballot voting. It was just a vote for Joe Biden and then nothing else. And it could be because ballot harvesters are not smart, are not political, and they go to people and they say, just vote for Biden, give me back the ballot. Many of these people were going to nursing homes and they were just telling people, fill this out, fill this out. Certainly, I believe fraudulent ballots exist and there is miscounting and things like this. There's a lack of chain of custody. All of those things matter. But I believe largely the ballots they got were not manufactured in a lab or in China. I think most of them were likely mass ballot harvesting initiatives. There were videos and stories about ballots being found in dumpsters and things like this. I don't know how many there were. But I think right now we should look at something much more alarming. This End Wokeness post. Let's dive in to the link here from SSA.gov. It's the HAVV, they call it, Help America Vote Verification Transactions by State for the week ending January 13th, 2024. Well, okay. Well, I don't care about January 13th. Let's do this. Let's go to the week ending March 23rd, the previous week. And we'll take a look at some numbers. California, 3,760 people filed to register to vote, and they did not have IDs. There were 2,148 matches, 1,612 non-matches. Now let's start here. How could there be non-matches? That means someone filled out a registration form, sent it in, and they said, this person's not real. Maybe they got something wrong. Name was misspelled, wrong date of birth. Who knows? Don't know why someone would get those things wrong, but it could happen. That's what, a third of them? A little bit more than a third? 28 of those deceased. Now, how could that happen? Well, that's actually, it could be explained, honestly. If somebody fills out a registration and then before that registration makes it to the Social Security Administration for verification, that individual dies and is listed as dead, that's a possibility. Although that is a very tight time frame. But I got to be honest, I don't care about California. I don't care about 3,000 transactions, 28 deceased people, because California is deep blue as it is. As we move down, we see something very interesting. Notably, Missouri, with 46,438 transactions, 42,000 matches found. Okay. This is not that big a deal. This could be a mass voter registration initiative. As I said, many people probably just register with their social because it's easier, right? I mean, come on. Do you want to pull out your ID, the stupid ID number? Just put in the last 4 of your social. You're done. This makes sense. 1,321 being deceased. Now that is very strange. That is a very small percentage, but that's a lot of people registering. Let me make sure I show you. It says single match deceased right here. That's a lot of people who filled out a form and then died before it could make it to the Social Security Administration. Perhaps verification takes several months. I really doubt it, considering this is a weekly basis, meaning in all likelihood, and again, I could be wrong, someone filled out a form, sent it in, and then croaked immediately so that the doctors could list them as deceased. They could make it to the SSA, and then they could go, oh, this person just died. I doubt it. I doubt it. Interestingly, we don't have any information on any of the states, but let's do this. we'll jump down to March 16th. Texas reporting comes in only every other week on this system. We can see here Arizona with 26,000 transactions. Now, again, this just means people are registering to vote. We don't know who or why. Many people are arguing this proves illegal immigrants because they don't have IDs. No, I'm going to say it again. Most people probably don't use their ID to register. They use their social. That's not what's really alarming to me. We go to Missouri again. 50,000 transactions, 45,000 matched, 4,000 didn't match, and 1,337 were dead. Okay, but wait. I'm just building up the suspense for you, ladies and gentlemen. In Texas, in 1 week, 227,000 people, and to be fair, if Texas only appears every other week, it's possible. It's possible. This is actually 2 weeks combined, fine. 4,571 dead people registered. Now, when we were on the show, Nick Freitas, he's a Virginia delegate, said, maybe this is voter roll purging. Maybe they're doing these verifications to see if these people... I said, you know what? You're right. That must be it. It has to be, right? How could nearly 5,000 people, the total for that week, 6,698 dead people, they filled out forms and then died right away? It must be that in these states, they're going through their voter rolls and saying, can you verify this person? And they go, yeah, the person died. And they go, okay, so this person's dead. Okay, we're going to purge them from the voter roll. Makes a lot of sense. Don't worry. I'm building up the suspense for you. That's not actually what's going on. To shock you the most, I will jump to February 17th, 2024. And this is where something weird happens. In Missouri, there were 78,000 registrations. 5,938 were found to have no match. 72,000 were found to have a match. And I'm going to make sure we get this total matches. However, and this is where things get very strange, 23,000 of these registrants were dead. It says right here, single match deceased. Now, okay, let me make sure I give the definitions. This is from ssa.gov. You tell me what it means. Total transactions, the total number of verification requests made during the time period. Total matches, the total number of verification requests where there is at least one match in our records of the name, last 4 digits of the SSN, and date of birth. I mean, that's a pretty good verification. Non-matches are obvious when there's no match. Single match found alive. The total number of verification requests where there is only one match in our records on name, last 4 digits, and date of birth, and the number holder is alive. Single match found deceased. The total number of verification requests where there is only one match in our records on name, date of birth, and last 4 of their social, and the number holder is deceased. They also have a multiple matches found, alive and deceased, but these are exceedingly rare and I don't believe ever actually come up. In this instance, multiple matches alive only came up 1 out of 78,000. However, we can jump over to Pennsylvania. Interestingly, there were 12. In Pennsylvania, with 62,000 transactions, only 29 came back deceased. Well, what does that say to you? Some people may die in between the process or something like this, perhaps. Or someone submitted the registration late. I mean, it's possible that someone filled out the registration form and they didn't send it in. That's true. That's fair. 29 could make sense. In Oregon, there were 569 transactions, 83. Now, what's fascinating is that we can make the argument these may just be people registering to vote. But why is it that in most states that don't matter, you don't really see it? In Arizona, it matters, 31,000. Georgia, 7,900. Illinois, 11,000. So it does vary. But in Maryland, it's 600. Massachusetts, it's 159. In Michigan, it's 113. Mississippi, it's 44. Missouri is very strange. 23,000 people who filed registrations came back as deceased. Now, again, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, it's got to be voter roll purging, because that's what we thought last night on IRL. All right, let me break it down for you. From ssa.gov, I will read for you verbatim what this is. The Help America Vote Act of 2002 requires states to verify the information of newly registered voters for federal elections. Each state must establish a computerized statewide voter registration list and verify new voter information with the state's Motor Vehicle Administration. The states are required to verify the driver's license number against the state MVA database. Only in situations where no driver's license exists should the states verify the last 4 digits of the new voter registrant's social security number. So I'm going to pause there. I said over and over again, it's probably people just choosing not to use their ID, which many people do. However, as they say, only where no license exists should the states verify the last 4 digits of the new voter registrant's social security number. It may be that the states are just lazy and they're like, we don't care, we'll just run it. Scott Pressler mentions that many Amish people don't have IDs. Sure. But that means when the Amish person goes to register to vote, they say, you need your ID. I don't have one. Okay, then we'll do your social. But you are only allowed to do your social if no license exists. Strange. How are we getting hundreds of thousands then? You see, this is where things start getting weird. 1.25 million people who don't have IDs in Texas? Who could that be? Interesting. Let me read more. The state submits the last digits of the SSN, name and date of birth, to the MVA for verification with the SSA. In addition, SSA is required to report whether its records indicate that the registrant is deceased. To ensure the privacy of the SSN, HAVA restricted the collection to only the last 4 digits of the Social Security number. HAVA provides that these last 4 digits do not constitute an SSN. What is Help America Vote verification? To comply with the requirements of Section 303 of HAVA, SSA developed a new verification system known as the Help America Vote verification system in August 2004. States must only submit a request to us for new voters who do not present a valid driver's license during the voter registration process. HAVV verifies the accuracy of the name, date of birth, and last 4 digits of SSN submitted and sends an indication of whether our records show the individual is deceased. Let me stress that for you one more time. States must only submit a request for new voters who do not present a valid driver's license during the voter registration process. One more time. New voters who do not. So this is not voter roll purging. It could be large amounts of people who do not present an ID. Maybe they have one, but hold on. It goes to the MVA first. You see? States are required to verify the driver's license number against the state MVA database. Only where no driver's license exists should the states verify the last 4 of the Social Security number. Meaning, the states must submit the last digits of the SSN name and date of birth to the MVA. That's the Motor Vehicle Administration. And it's called different things in different states, of course. But this means if someone has a license and they decide not to use it, and they submit that verification to the MVA should find in their database the driver's license number and not need to contact the SSA. This is, to stress, according to the Social Security Administration, only new submissions must only submit for new voters. How are they all dead? Explain that one to me. Honestly, I have no idea. That was the week of February 17th, 2024. Missouri is popping up. Let's grab Missouri here with 23,000 deceased individuals submitting new registrations and not having IDs in the system. Why are there no IDs in the system? Well, it's kind of obvious. They're dead. So someone filled out an application for a dead person, sent it in. The MVA says, we don't got a license for this person. Yeah, maybe it expired. So they send it to the SSA and they say, who's this? And they go, that's a dead person. So who filled out the application? You know, many people think it's illegal immigrants. I don't. Because illegal immigrants may get work permits and things like that. I don't know that we're at that stage. No, I think this is largely, these are people who are alive, many of them, and they don't vote. And you can take a look at voting records, and in some places it's not hard to find who's voting and who's not. And then the assumption is, even based on demographic, it may be that they go, look, 18 to 34-year-olds, they don't vote that much. So if you target these areas with low voter turnout, you're likely to be able to register people who normally don't vote. And then you end up getting a list. Here's what I think. I think someone's got a list of names and they're told, fill out registration applications under these names and socials. And they do. Some of those people are dead and they don't know. I don't think it's illegal immigrants. I don't know exactly what this means, but I got to tell you, shouldn't there be in the law that if at any point in a week more than 100 dead people try to register, it gets flagged to state law enforcement and to the federal government?
Okay, you saw that, right? Now, what does that tell you? It may be that old Jill Biden may have almost given away the secret sauce. Because if Tim's presumptions are spot on, I think we know how the DNC is going to win Biden a second term as president. Now, of course, some of you who are old as I am knows that stunt's been done more than once. Indeed, I remember there was a famous case that happened in Texas in the 1940s when LBJ, that LBJ, when he ended up in Congress, and it came out years later that the damn Democratic Party machine basically cheated. And you say cheated how? Well, according to the historical records, LBJ, was in a primary with another Democrat and a local party official. I looked it up recently. And I remember hearing the story. But I didn't hear like the hard details about exactly what happened. I remember just hearing the story. But yeah, they said that what happened was, this guy, his name was George Parr. He was the local Democratic political boss in South Texas. Yeah, he rigged the election for Johnson. And then Johnson went on to to defeat the Republican in a general election and end up in Congress. And then you say, well, why did they do that? Don't know. But apparently some people who were in the room when the thing was rigged basically spilt their guts back in the 70s and made tape recordings about what they did. You could call it basically a confessional without the priest. And someone discovered these recordings sometime the year 2000 and released them to the Associated Press. In fact, I'll put a link in the description down below in the video. You can read the whole article for yourself. But I remember hearing this story years ago. In fact, I remember it came out LBJ's mouth when when he was still president. He made a joke about back in his jurisdiction in Texas. He said they always made sure that everyone in their jurisdiction voted, including the people in the cemetery. I remember hearing that as a kid, and it was clearly a joke. But then again, maybe he wasn't joking. And now here we are in the present day, 2024, and it looks like somebody is trying the same stunt all over again. Basically making sure everyone in the cemetery votes. But not across the board. As you saw in that Tim Pool video, in select areas. The swing states. And I'm thinking, well, you heard the phrase that leopard doesn't change its spots? Well, nope, they don't. Same kind of shenanigans that the DNC pulled back to get LBJ in Congress back in the 40s. They're pulling the same stunt again. The only difference is the technology has gotten better and they're getting revealed. They're getting caught. Well, that's okay, that's only half true. In other words, people at Social Security Service, because they're able to cross-reference files now, they're finding this shit before the election. The only question now is the local jurisdictions going to actually send out voting ballots to these jurisdictions where we know that the people who allegedly showed up registering to vote were dead. I don't know, but it'll be a special kind of stupid if somebody in these jurisdictions in these swing states actually issues ballots to dead people, even though the damn Social Security Department actually said, "Hey, by the way, we just checked this Social Security number to this person who allegedly had been dead for like 10 years, who walked into your office to register to vote." I mean, like, what the hell? Yeah. I mean, that would be a special kind of stupid. But you have to admit, when you consider the history of bureaucracy in America, that could happen. I mean, could you imagine this? That in a few months from now, when the election happens, Biden wins, and then it comes out later that a whole bunch of dead people that, as Tim revealed in his video, have been called out, ended up getting ballots sent out anyway, and the ballots came back filled out for Joe Biden. Wouldn't that be hilarious? And not hilarious in a good way. All I can say, I hope that guy, Scott Pressler's got his A game on. You know, the guy who's working on the RNC site for his ballots harvesting, because he's going to have to get a whole lot of ballots for Trump if he's going to, if he's going to counteract this potential blue wave that might happen in a few months from now when the election happens. Because I said it once already. One thing you can count on when it comes to the DNC and their leftist and liberal allies is that they don't like losing elections. Nope, they don't. And of course, they'll do anything not to. Just saying. Well, that's all I gotta say about these stupid shenanigans on the DNC side trying to win elections. And that's my opinion.